Hello, everyone, and welcome to what is now another episode of Culture and Decay. Originally, this was going to be the state of the culture, but some stuff came up, and Ryan unfortunately had to cancel. So we're going to do state of the culture some other time this week or on the weekend. But today, I got myself a different guest here who managed to come in and save the day. Some of you might recognize him if you watch our streams on Friday nights. It's my good old buddy, one of the guys who started this whole thing with the Mises Caucus here in Florida, my buddy Rob.
How do you do?
Rob from the Luchadors of Liberty, and also, what's the name of your college football podcast again?
Thanks. College Football Extravaganza. Yeah, it's
College
fun
Football Extravaganza. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, didn't really plan on this episode going this way, so we're just going to both be winging it here today. So this means one of two things is going to happen. This is either going to be a really awesome episode, or this is going to be an episode that blows.
Probably.
So
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so I guess I'm going to start all this off by asking you the two questions that I ask everyone who comes on here. Rob, for starters, number one, what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh shit. See, I don't know. I always like to think in terms of like comedy and funny stuff. So like my favorite one that makes me laugh every time is birds aren't real. 'Cause when someone says birds aren't real, it's like, okay, yeah, that's hilarious. And then when they hit you with, have you ever seen a baby pigeon? I'm done. Like, I've never seen a baby pigeon. And so like they get you. That's how they hook you.
Is there some crazy libertarian in the LP out there who has a pigeon coop that could maybe?
Yeah, no, there's 100% some libertarians. If you ever, did you see that Rick and Morty? If you watch Rick and Morty, in like the 5th season, where they're like, we're gonna hide in the woods and barter like libertarians. So there's got to be some sort of libertarian out there who raises pigeons or at least feeds them.
I don't know, but yeah, the whole birds aren't real one. That's I feel like that's kind of peak hilarity when it comes to conspiracy theories.
And they've thought it out too. Like, why do you think pigeons sit on power lines? They're recharging. I'm like, oh shit, you got it. You got me. What do you do?
I seriously wish I could know where the genesis of this conspiracy theory began.
I don't know.
Like, I really want to. So on that time, whoa, just got a lot of static there. But
you go over here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a little bit not as bad there.
That's fine. I'll lean this way away from my keyboard.
Yeah. For some reason, the keyboard is cursed.
The keyboard is cursed. I don't know what's going on.
But so the follow-up to that question that I ask everyone then is, what conspiracy theory would you not be surprised to learn is true? Is it the same one?
No, birds are real. Oh, fuck. 9/11, man.
Really?
Yeah.
The whole, in any specific theory or just in general?
Just that the government knew about it and used it as a pretext to go into the Middle East and just bomb a bunch of countries.
Yeah, I think no matter what, that's the most reasonable way of looking at it, that it was used as an excuse, no matter what. But yeah, I can see why. If you were to wake up tomorrow and see that, you wouldn't be surprised to learn that is true.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's a lot of I love conspiracy theories, so it sucks. I do have a propensity to be like, oh, I love the conspiracy theories. I do, so I try and watch out for myself in doing that. But 9/11 is one of those things where like the government was ready to take advantage. They knew who to blame, and we just benefited off of it. Not as in the American people, but like the military industrial complex benefited off of it for 2 decades, and now that's kind of slowing down. So we got to find something else.
Yeah, it seems like COVID was the thing for a while there, and now they're trying to push back into a foreign policy war-based system for that. Russia being the big boogeyman.
Yep. The Democrats have been hating on Russia for years and years.
Yeah, they've always kind of had a hate boner for Russia. It's been weird.
Yeah, it has been weird. And you know, I'm not saying Russia's the good guy. Like, by no means am I on team Russia in this whole situation. But you know, I'm not like free Ukraine. You know, I'm just sitting here neutral. Like, let's not have a war, guys. Like, this is bad.
Yeah, I don't want a war. If I were to look at the geopolitical situation, my stance is pretty just. I just take the libertarian approach, where it's like, if the Donbass wants to be independent, let them. If Ukraine wants to be independent, let them.
Yep. Yeah, that sort of thing where places like Catalonia in Barcelona, they hold votes all the time to try and claim their independence from Spain. And, you know, a lot of times they win, and then Spain's like, no, we're just not going to recognize that. And
They
so
never recognize
they
it.
never recognize it. But even, I think it might have been John Adams in like some of the Federalist Papers wrote about a nation's right to self-determination, right? And even in our own Constitution, that's what it was, is a country's right to self-determination, for us to be free from the motherland, right? So I think all Americans should be able to relate to that, in the very least, is a certain area being like, we're not them anymore. We're our own independent state.
Like the Conch Republic.
Like Florida, baby. Like all of Florida. But yeah,
Hopefully
like the Conch
someday.
Republic. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Like
Yeah,
the Conch Republic.
Oh, the good old Conch Republic. But speaking of Catalonia, have you? I don't think we've ever talked about Spanish Civil War or anything like that. But you know, have you ever read George Orwell's Homage to Catalonia at all? Or
No, I've only read 1984.
okay, gotcha. Homage to Catalonia is Orwell's novel that he wrote, which was his first-hand experience going and fighting in the Spanish Civil War. Good war book if you're ever interested.
I got to get the Animal Farm first. That's on my.
Oh yeah. No. Please get to Animal Farm. You need to read. I'm a total Orwell fanboy, so like if you ever have any questions about Orwell, I could tell you a million and one things.
What's that thing where, like, you know, a lot of conservatives like to use Orwell for like crutch, and then a lot of the lefties are like, well, he was a socialist. What's that whole argument about? Can you like lay that out for me? Like, is a self-proclaimed socialist, correct?
He was
Yeah.
kind of he bounced between. There's a good video out there. I hope it hasn't been scrubbed to the sands of time. I'll see if I can find it sometime. But it basically goes through Orwell's ideological path through the years. In his younger years, he's actually kind of an anarchist. During specifically Down and Out in Paris and Homage to Catalonia, he has more anarchist leanings, to the point where in Homage to Catalonia, he even says, if I could have gone back and done it again, I probably should have joined the anarchists. He joins the POUM, which is a Marxist group, the Party of Unified Marxists, I believe is what the acronym was. And they were very anarcho-communist in their ideology, but they leaned more on the communist end of things.
Gotcha.
But in his later years, when World War II and all that came around, he generally went more on the Trotskyist, democratic socialist end of things.
So what is 1984 a warning against? Is it more just authoritarianism?
It was a warning specifically about the authoritarianism that he saw in the Soviet Union, which was destructive to the very ideas that he even cherished, which were socialist ideas. Which is what you'll see in Animal Farm, which is 1984 is the future that he foresaw the Soviet Union, which going towards, which in this case now I feel like it just kind of is become a symbol of authoritarian nature in general. But Animal Farm is a straight up allegory for the Soviet Union. You'll see what I mean.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's just crazy how spot on it is nowadays, and I guess you can say that a lot about a lot of books and a lot of dystopian novels.
Are there any dystopian books or just books in general that kind of you see that in, aside from 1984?
Not that I can think off the top of my head. 1984 is one of the ones that I've read that's just stuck with me recently. I don't know how many dystopian novels I've actually looked at or read. So other than 1984.
Well, I mean, there's also like even like if we include like movies or like games or whatever too, it seems like dystopia has kind of been something that a lot of people have touched on.
This is weird, but like the Hunger Games, in a way, does really get to me whenever we reference like the Capitol, and it reminds me of like how nowadays pop culture and the elite of the elite, how they dress. You know how in the Hunger Games, how the Capitol, everyone dressed extravagantly and they were well to do and whatnot. They were hoity-toity. That's kind of how I see the elite in America, not just in DC because that's the capital, right? Um, but like you look at fashion shows in Hollywood and stuff like that. These people are just like the people in the Capitol in Hunger Games. In there.
Yeah, that's the Hunger Games was an interesting thing too. Like, do you remember when that book and the movies became like huge for that brief period at school? Like you're
Yeah,
around the same age that I am, so
yeah, I do. I was actually in one of our classes. They made us read the Hunger Games, and so
really.
that's kind of how I got into it. And yeah, I was like probably sophomore in high school, and they made us read it. So that it was a cool book to read for school. And even then, I was like, I could definitely see this happening. Like if the U.S. broke up or something like that, because that's kind of how it was based, right? It was like the 13 districts, 12 districts, right?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the Hunger Games simulator at all?
I don't think so.
So it's this funny thing online where you can just run it with the characters from the movie, but if you want, you can spend like an hour or two programming every person you would want to be in it.
Hmm.
And just talking about the Hunger Games again is reminding me of the Hunger Games simulator, and it makes me want to see what would happen if we put all the swamp creatures in there. Which one
Oh,
would win?
I'm telling you right now, I'm hanging out in the trees like as much as I can. I'm
Hey,
being
man, I'm
sneaky.
just saying the computer deduces what you're going to do.
Hmm.
So you're at the mercy of the computer.
Right, right. That's fine. We could do that.
I don't know, that'd be a funny thing to do for a
Tim,
stream.
Tim's gonna make us bet drinks on it.
You probably
Um,
will, either that or a Packy chip.
so here's one thing. Trump, it's being rumored they're kind of pushing it. He might be on Rogan, so it's early enough to where Rogan hasn't said anything like he's not gonna be.
Well, I mean,
Like Trump's not gonna be on there.
if Trump's going on Rogan, he's not going to say it. He's just going to do it. It's kind of like
Right.
when Alex Jones goes on Tim Pool. They never advertise it. It just happens.
Well, he went on like the Nelk Boys. We were talking about this the other day. The Full Sin podcast went on
Yeah.
their podcast and talked a lot about Joe Rogan. And he was like, "I just told Joe." Trump was like, "I just told Joe stop apologizing." And they were like, "What did he say back to you?" And Trump was like, "Well, I just put it out there. Like, don't like he didn't talk to him directly. Like he just said, I just put it out there. Stop apologizing."
All
Um,
I want to know is,
yeah.
if he does go on Rogan, I expect him to ask. I expect Rogan to ask every question that I'm sure we would want, which are not the most outlandish questions.
Yeah. And Rogan books like way ahead of schedule, so
Well, he
whatever
books
he's gonna
way
have time to
ahead, but
prepare.
also
Prepare.
if he has someone in the hot seat, he has them in the hot seat. So
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we get the best interview of Trump ever. Maybe the left might even like it. They might even be like, "Oh, he's actually asking some tough questions." Never asked before.
no, they're
But
not going to like that.
they're not gonna like him at all.
Are they?
I mean, I think here's how it would go. The Trump people would say, "You probably can't ask this, can't ask that," and Rogan would be like, "Well, I'm not gonna have you on if you don't do that." And so Trump might agree to it, being Trump, and go in there and he asks some tough questions. But I bet he's gonna say some shit that's gonna be fucking hilarious, and then Rogan's just gonna laugh because he appreciates comedy and he appreciates I don't want to say Trump, but he appreciates like the comedy that Trump actually is, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like,
It just is. It's just funny sometimes. I hate to say it, but it is.
it is. There's sort of a wittiness to Donald Trump that you got to give credit to.
Oh, I don't know about witty. I don't want to call him witty. He's just, I don't know,
No,
man. I don't want to go that far.
there's wit to it because like he's not going up there and just saying, Jeb Bush is a motherfucker. He's low energy Jeb, or I'm sorry, was it low energy Jeb?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Sleepy Joe Biden.
Sleepy Joe, that was it.
That he nailed that one on the head. Like if you're sitting here watching this podcast and being like, these guys don't know the fuck they're talking about, Joe Biden's sleepy. Like he just
Crooked Hillary.
Yeah, Crooked Hillary. That was spot on. Little Rand Paul. As much as I hate that, he destroyed Rand Paul. Even though Rand Paul in the debates was right on that particular exchange. If you go back and watch the debates back in 2015 now, when Rand Paul was rebutting what Trump had said about China.
Yeah.
Rand Paul was like, he has no idea what he's talking about. That's not even right at all. And then Trump just goes, shut the fuck up, Rand. You got like 5% in the polls. Who are you? Little Rand Paul? That was it. That was it for his whole campaign. They might as well have packed it up. He might as well just walk off the stage in the middle of the debate.
Yeah, he got torpedoed.
And that's why democracy sucks, because all you fucks out there voted for Trump just because he's demeaning people.
Well, there was that, but also Rand kind of shot himself in the foot too when that debate began. When they had like that thing where everyone on stage had to pledge to support whoever the Republican candidate was, and everyone raised their hand except for Donald Trump.
Yep, I mean that's a good thing.
And that was Rand tried to go after him for that.
He was being super milquetoast too. Like the whole campaign, like he was doing stuff that I was like, a Republican should do this, and Rand's known in our circles as like Republican, but he leans libertarian, and I wasn't seeing much of that in his campaign. He was playing it safe. He was playing it way too safe for an election year where everyone wanted someone who wasn't playing it safe, who wasn't an establishment candidate. That's the way I saw it.
Well, it feels like there's kind of this cultural, there's kind of this cultural desire for something that isn't the mainstream that everyone is used to. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I agree.
I think that's why Bernie, Trump, Ron Paul, like those guys generally all caught on.
Yeah. And it does suck because people like Bernie, like, obviously libertarian in this circle right here, but we're nowhere close to being realistically able to apply our philosophy and apply our political strategy at a big scale, whereas Bernie Sanders, like a straight up socialist, is very close. He's very close to being able to do that because the systems are in place for it. He has the immense government umbrella over everything. And people are like, yeah, everyone gets universal health care and this and that. So it just sucks.
Here's my question with you about Bernie. Do you think he's legitimately a rebel, or do you think he's one of them? He's just kind of a pressure release valve.
He's not a rebel by any means. Like he's not establishment because the establishment hates him, but at the same time he'll go along with it. Like when he got fucked over by the DNC, and when the Democrats said, Hillary won the superdelegates, even though he was winning all the votes. He still endorsed Hillary. He still endorsed Joe Biden. Like, he just goes along with it. So he's not a rebel. But at the same time, I enjoy his foreign policy stances. Like, him and Rand Paul get together on foreign policy a lot. And that's like, the most important issue.
Yeah.
Foreign policy. So, like, I would take him over a lot of people, honestly. But he would just fuck up the entire economy. So,
to be fair, Bernie, from what I understand, is pretty based on guns.
I don't know. Maybe he is. If he is,
I mean, he comes from a district that I guess it's something that who knows whether he's actually read Marx and realizes that Marx says don't disarm the poor people.
Everybody gets guns. Everyone
gets a free gun.
Free gun.
Like Ukraine, you get a free AK-47.
You get really shitty guns. You like get this.
You get American-made AK-47s.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know. That's why in 2016 I was looking at all the people. I'm like, I don't really like Trump. I hate socialism. I don't want Bernie, but I hate Hillary more than Bernie. I ended up voting Gary Johnson because I found my home. But
so, were you familiar with libertarianism before that?
I would say 2015 is where I kind of found the Libertarian Party. I knew it was out there, and I knew that I aligned with it, but I was always like, why am I going to vote for someone who's not going to win? But then I was like, I I looked at the last two cycles because I was this close to being able to vote in 2012, and I didn't, and I then was like a more of a Republican. I was like Mitt Romney over Obama. Didn't really know about the Libertarian Party then, and then the next go around, I knew about the Libertarian Party, and I voted. Not so my first time voting, I voted Libertarian.
Gotcha. So, were you familiar with all the things that happened between Ron Paul and the Republican establishment in 2011, 2012?
Yeah, I like Ron Paul a lot, and only the only reason I knew about him was because I watched The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and I saw that episode where Jon Stewart was like, who's in third, where they were like not show or second, like
Oh
they
yeah,
were
it was
not showing Ron Paul's
it,
votes in Iowa.
the funniest was like where it was like Mitt Romney in first, Rick Santorum in third. They don't even say who's in second.
Right. Yeah. And so that's when I heard about Ron Paul, and I was like, yeah, I would have voted for him. But by the time I was looking at voting and stuff, um, Ron Paul was already done. It was Mitt and Obama that they were like the finalists. Because I didn't really care. I was in high school. I was playing football. I was like I can't vote anyway, so I'm not gonna care. And then I started going.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, as much
So,
as any high schooler can know what's going on.
yeah, exactly. There's kind of like this basic world. Like, dude, when I got introduced, I got red pilled around that time when I was that age. And to convince the stoners at my school to support Ron Paul, all I had to do was say, yeah, he's the Republican who wants to legalize weed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it
Yeah,
was that simple. Like, that's the extent of what high schoolers will support, you know?
yeah, and not only was Ron Paul supporting that, he's been supporting that since like the '70s and the '80s, when it wasn't cool, when everyone was like on board with throwing you in jail for your lifetime. And even on that show, that's a famous clip of Ron Paul where the whole crowd is like booing him, and
Oh,
he's
Morton
like,
Downey.
yeah, and he's like, you've had way too many cheeseburgers. Maybe they should ban cheeseburgers. And the whole crowd's like, oh shit, he fucking got him. Because the dude was fat.
Ron was a fucking savage, bro.
He was savage. He still is a savage.
I'm sure he still has it in him if you were to push him.
Yeah, he still has it in him.
But aside from Ron Paul, what were like the key influences that kind of like brought you to liberty? Like, yeah, I see you brought up the Daily Show with Jon Stewart and Gary Johnson and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
It's got. I mean, it's really Dave Smith. It really is, and I hate to say that because it's so cliche nowadays for like people in the Mises Caucus to say. I heard about it from Dave Smith, but in 2015, I was listening to. So I worked a maintenance job at this place on the beach, and I would just listen to podcasts all day while I'm like cleaning and stuff, and while I'm like doing the floors and doing the tables, and I listened to like Joe Rogan's podcast, and I listened to some Alex Jones too, but I knew Alex Jones was crazy because he was like all for Trump, and back in the day. But I like listening to him because I'm like, oh, he thinks interdimensional pedophiles are real. That's cool.
There was
fun.
something endearing. There still is something endearing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's cool. So yeah, I listened to Joe Rogan, who is friends with Ari Shaffir. They're both comedians. I love comedy, and I also listen to Ari Shaffir's podcast. Ari Shaffir has Dave Smith on for the State of the Union every year, and so I heard Dave Smith for the first time on the State of the Union, and that's what influenced me a lot because then I subscribed to Part of the Problem. I started listening to Dave Smith and Robbie the Fire Bernstein, and that's it. It's all she wrote from there.
And the rest was history.
Yeah, and I had already I've been like a registered libertarian since 2015. I don't for some reason my voter registration says since 2012, but that's before I could vote too. I don't I don't think it. I don't think that's accurate. But yeah, so I registered libertarian then because I was like, yeah, I'm anti-war, um, anti-drug war, and the Republicans aren't. So that's obviously not my home because those are my two biggest issues.
Yeah. So what do you think of the possibility of him running?
I like it. I think he's just an inspirational voice. Um, I'm I'm worried that he's not going to run because if he doesn't run, who are we as the Mises Caucus going to put forward in the Libertarian Party?
If I had to guess, possibly Spike Cohen or
Hmm.
someone else gets put up, but I think Spike's the best bet.
Yeah, and like even the idea of Justin Amash, if Justin Amash ran, I wouldn't mind because he's a familiar name and he does push the envelope to like a closer to a libertarian side, but it's not as much as Dave Smith would do. It's we were talking about the other day, I think Friday night on the Small Creatures. Um, it's a little bit more establishment like Amash knows government. He's got his things he's okay with and things that he's not. It's not like a hard stop.
Well, that's something I've heard. Is apparently Amash really is not jiving with the anarchism.
No, no, no way. But he'll sit and talk to us though, and that's what I think. Like, if you ask me what I don't like, how we have a senate. I think we should have a parliament, just like Germany does. I think Ukraine also has a parliament. It does allow for that extremism to get in, but it's also a percentage based off of your population, right? So, if we had a parliament, most likely we'd have some libertarians in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, at the congressional level.
Is this why you want a parliament? I'm sorry. Normally I don't go to videos on this show, but you brought up parliament, so I need to bring up this classic.
Okay. Oh shit!
Yeah, this was in Kosovo.
Why are they just still sitting there?
Well, the one party started doing. Yeah, let me turn this down a bit because they're just yelling. The one party basically got out tear gas to protest a vote.
That's hardcore.
Parliament. But
No.
then again, this
Oh,
is also one of the former Yugoslavian states. So, take with that what you will.
I'm gonna see if I can find.
All right, so we'll close that.
I'm gonna see if I can find make up a jerk. So yeah,
I got you.
let's see. Yeah,
So, so
this might be from a while ago. I'm gonna share. I'm gonna share this real quick.
no problem.
Oh wait a minute.
When you're done pulling that up, I actually wanted to build on what you just were talking about there.
Go ahead.
Kind of
Go ahead. Yeah, keep going.
coming to Liberty through Dave Smith. Was that also kind of how you got plugged into the Mises Caucus?
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't have heard about the music topics without this. No.
Yeah. He really he was one of those people who helped pull a lot of people in.
Yeah. So here we go.
Which was funny because we actually met before we actually. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So and this doesn't really give you. I mean, you can tell the Greens are the Green Party, and then
Yeah.
um, you got your one big body that's like most of who gets voted for, and then the red dots are like your second biggest party. Whereas in the United States, it's like literally almost right down the middle, red and blue. Here, you kind of have some sort of a say from everybody. Even if it's your communists or your social democrats. If you're gonna have a government at all, I think
See,
this would be
you
better.
believe in proportional representation as compared to
Right. And
that
this
sort.
this does work better with a ranked choice voting um, system. So obviously, fan of ranked choice voting is better for third parties and bigger, smaller parties.
Are you saying we should rank the vote?
Yeah, we should rank the vote for sure.
Rank the vote.
Yeah. Yep. And full disclosure, I did do some volunteer work for Rank My Vote Florida and stuff. So I'm a little biased, but at the same time, I do the work because I believe in it, and it would help libertarians out for sure. Because a lot of people out there would vote libertarian, they just don't. They're just like, you guys aren't going to win, so I don't want to waste my vote. And I don't want to get into that. I don't think it's wasting your vote. I think
I had that exact conversation recently, actually, with someone
yeah,
in my family who, for whatever reason, is still voting for Marco Rubio, and I have no idea why.
yeah. I mean, we can talk about it. It's I know why.
Well, no, I'm even saying to that person, it's like you hate him. He's one of those so-called rhinos that Trump told you about. What the fuck are
Mhm.
you? At least stick to your principles and stick with Trump. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can at least respect that.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's because they don't know about the libertarian. Like, if we're involved in the Libertarian Party, we've been involved for a while. You know the ins and outs of it. You know the people, right? And this is what we forget a lot of times is there's people out there who have never even heard about us because everyone gets to vote. Not saying it's a good or bad thing, but literally everyone gets a vote unless you're telling or something along those lines. Um, and you don't have to be politically savvy. You can just vote. And so, if you're not in the political circle, you don't know about all the parties. You don't know there's a constitutional party. You don't know there's a green party. And so you're like, I get these two. And then the system's rigged against us because when you get the call from a pollster, you're like, who are you voting for? Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? Are you voting for the Republican or Democrat in the area? Even if there's someone else running. So I'm one of those guys that'll be like, I'll tell the guy straight up, I'm voting Libertarian. And then they'll say, but if you had to choose one of the two, and I'll say, no,
I'm not.
you're rigging the system. I'm literally like you're literally rigging the system right now by calling me and calling people. You're misleading them because there is a third candidate on the ballot in all 50 states every time.
Yeah, there really is kind of this bizarre system of deception that goes into all that. Well, it's not even bizarre. It's just it's absolutely maniacal.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
don't advocate for violence, but like our our founding fathers got pissed off over the
well,
price of tea and sugar.
it,
You know,
please, I want to stay on the air, but
yeah,
the it's funny you say that though, because one thing I noticed was all the news outlets when Justin Amash had left and joined the Libertarian Party. They were all reporting him as an independent even up until the end, because they can't let people know that there's another like that this other party had actually met a threshold, actually had gone into one of the big things. They have to let people know that they're always a joke, or
yeah,
at the very least, you don't know what they are. Or if they make any sort of meaningful impact, you need to find a way to lump it in with something else that it isn't, which is why I think they go out of their way to try and link libertarian groups with Nazis a lot with CNN and stuff like that.
right. And and I will say, like, to a certain extent, I don't know, state by state, like Pennsylvania's killing it, obviously, right now. But, in Florida, we have 21 or 27 out of 67 counties affiliated. That is a joke. Like, we've been around for 50 years. Every single county in Florida should have an affiliate. Every single affiliate should be at least 10 people, not like 4 people meeting monthly to do to do not that much, you know. And I'm not specifically knocking any of my counties. Obviously, I think we're doing a good job with the people we have. Just want to get more people in. Just need to recruit people. Someone got mad at me because I used the term recruit. They're like, it's like a military term. I'm like, well, it kind of we need to recruit. I don't care. Invite. He was like, say invite or something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna say recruit. This We need to recruit people. We are literally going to war with the
Read the.
establishment.
I would just tell that person, please just read The Art of War.
Yeah, like
Like
like don't nitpick me over what words I'm using. And this is a guy who hasn't been affiliated with like the party at all. He emailed me about a complaint. That the LP wasn't doing its due diligence and like having the website up to date and stuff. And the complaint, like he's spot on with the complaint.
yeah,
So, but at the same time, he's new to like the scene. So, don't we have to recruit? I'm gonna say it plain. I'm gonna use the word. I don't care. That's what we're doing.
that's just in a
Yeah.
way, it's an idiotic SJW mentality of like, yo, you shouldn't use that word. It's like, the fuck do we like?
No, and it's one of those things where like if you went to school for marketing or business, all these marketing and business majors, had these trigger words that they're like, oh, I got a piece of paper here that tells me um, that I'm right whenever I tell you you can't use this word. And to a certain extent, like I love marketing majors and stuff because they do work and they can get your word out there. But at a certain point, like any business mate, like it's just different for different people. Like any business major will tell you your resume needs to be one page. One page. Your resume needs to be. Uh, you get in the legal field. If I'm looking for an expert witness, all these expert witnesses who are like doctors and general contractors, their resumes are 20, 30 pages long because they want you to know all the shit that they've done that makes them a better expert than the other person and why we should pay them thousands of dollars just to be an expert witness on the case. That's just how it is. So it's just stuff like that that's permeated throughout different people's professions. That's made them think like we have to be careful with how we word things. Like, no, let's not sugarcoat it. The Libertarian Party and each county needs to recruit. You need to treat it like a political party and like you're trying to do something. We're not inviting you to nothing. We're recruiting you to be a soldier on the ground in this grassroots effort to replace the current establishment, wherever it is, in your county, in your state, in your country.
And even then, with that, there's kind of a level of like, okay, if you're not looking to play the political game, there's other libertarian groups out there that you could always link up with. There's the Rothbardian Circle down in Broward.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like a ton of other little ones around here. I know
You could join that book club, that ladies' book club that she always talks about.
there's a book club.
Well, it's like show the book party, the study party.
I didn't know this was a thing.
You would like her then. She every year at the LPF convention, she tries to convince people to do the study parties and get you to sign up and stuff. I fell for it the first time.
Oh, is it not as good as you would say?
Well, it's a great idea. It's a good idea because like the philosophy is nice to discuss and talk about, right? But personally, I think I hate whenever I say like personally because if you say personally, you're already talking about yourself. But anyway,
Yeah.
personally, the Libertarian County affiliates should be the spot to discuss philosophy too. Like, why are you having study parties outside of the affiliate? If we have a problem with growing affiliates, why are we trying to do all these things outside of the affiliates? And it's just to discuss the philosophy of libertarianism. I get it. So maybe it's just people who just want to read at the same time. You'd be doing that with your affiliate. Like, have you done it with your affiliate? These are questions I wanted to ask her, but I don't want to get roped into it. I don't want to get roped into doing the study party.
Oh my god. You know what? We're gonna create our own book club.
No, do it through her. Do it through her because she's
The Swamp Book Club. The first thing you need to read is that what's that one book that Aleister Crowley wrote? I don't know. Start with something really fucked.
Yeah.
Mine as well. It's gonna be like Fight Club. You got to get through the really fucked up shit before we get to like Rothbard, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I think we should read everything. I personally like want to go over like Communist Manifesto. I'd like to read Engels shit.
You've never read any of the controversial things like the Manifesto or Mein Kampf, anything like that?
No.
I will say the Manifesto I found it to be fairly simple. I don't know why so many people consider it to be a hard read. I got through it in a fairly quick amount of time. It's pretty. Apparently, Marx was paid to write it, so. I read it because I got challenged by some communists online, and then when I came back and criticized them, their response was basically, well, actually, in his book Das Kapital, I was like, no, I'm not going back and reading that. I already went through the Manifesto. Like, I'm not going through his bricks.
Yeah, Das Kapital is another one. That's on
it's a fucking brick.
I mean, but that's the one. That's like the one that gets referenced a lot. If like you defeated like an argument in in the Communist Manifesto. You gotta go. Then you gotta defeat the secondary argument from.
Oh, fuck out of here!
You know,
Like that's where I'm just like, bring me the secondary argument. I'm not gonna go find it on my own.
I mean, it's just good to know your enemy. I think.
I think it is. It's just there's only so much time to live, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen both volumes of Das Kapital.
Decay.
They are. Imagine 3 human actions. Like human action on my shelf here is already fucking gigantic.
Yeah.
Imagine like 3 of those.
Right now, I'm still working on economics in one lesson, Hazlitt, and
Yeah.
the Road to Serfdom. I'm like halfway through the Road to Serfdom, which is I'm enjoying it just because it's the perspective of Hayek looking at the Nazis from like the British point of view perspective. But the book sold a lot better in the U.S., which is I have the like big edition where it kind of gives you the background and stuff on and all that. And so that was interesting to me that a lot of people in America picked it up because it was meant for specifically for people in Britain to warn them about socialism, and also made comparisons to like Germany, Nazi Germany, and Weimar Germany beforehand. And it was like, this is what led to this, and this is generally what leads to more authoritarian and totalitarian policies.
So on the topic of
A lot of big words.
the road to serfdom, then I want to ask you something. I've had this theory before, and I feel like seeing how certain libertarians either take the alt-right pipeline or the radical woke pipeline, it makes me wonder, are libertarians the modern socialists in the regard of how Hayek kind of frames it in Road to Serfdom, where it's like the socialists were the ones that both the fascists and the communists would go after because they were the easiest people to turn? Like, part of me wonders about that.
I think it's different because now you have the Republican and the Democrat Party, which are in Road to Serfdom. That's the two people that he kind of warns you about is the conservatives, and from at least what I've read, the conservatives would be the Republicans, right? And then the communists and the socialists, which let's be honest, those are Democrats right now. And I know there's some communists out there that's like they're not communists, and you're right, they're not. But at the same time, if we look at the policies that we've implemented as far as like the extent of government entanglement into the market from a libertarian perspective, by all means, they are socialist, right? Both parties do tend to fight against the libertarians in a way that keeps us out of off of the ballot in certain places, like in Texas. The Republicans definitely try to keep us off the ballot, and like in Sarasota, where ranked choice voting passed. Now the Republicans in Florida here are trying to keep us out or repeal that. So it's definitely I can see where you're coming from. I just think it's a little different. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I get what you're saying. That was just something that I had kind of thought of when reading Road to Serfdom a long time ago. That's just one of many perspectives that come up throughout that whole book.
Yeah.
That was one in particular that stuck with me. So in regards, though, just talking about Florida there, I feel like, this show being about culture and everything like that, I feel like Florida's cultural pride and identity has grown a lot. So I just want to know what you think of that here, and I think that'll be our final thing we talk about before we wrap this up here.
Okay. Within our circles, it has, right? Like we just at the Libertarian Convention, we just passed a resolution to send a resolution to the governor and to the state, like, hey, we don't want to be a part of the United States, and we sent them, told them, like, hey, these are the wrongs, these are the egregious actions that the U.S. has taken against Florida, the state of Florida, and we don't think we should be there. And then you have Florida and DeSantis kind of standing up against the mandates and the whole COVID regime, right? After about 2-3 months. So one of the first states to do that, and then a lot of people moving here, and then Florida's always had that "fuck you, this is our state" kind of feel to it, right? Like everyone in the rest of the country makes fun of Florida, even though they're all on meth too, right? So, um,
We have
I,
meth and cocaine.
yeah, we got it all. So I think Florida does have a special pride, like special, I guess, yeah, special sense of pride. Floridians
Well,
do.
it's not even just in our circles, real quickly, that I've noticed it. Like, people now actually have the Florida flag on like a hat, little things like that.
Yeah, yep, yeah. I've noticed that too. Like there's different local brands that have popped up too. You see them on trucks a lot. I think it
Yeah.
runs in more conservative circles. Like I don't think people who lean like politically, who like identify politically as like socialists or leftists, I don't think they identify as Floridians.
Well, I mean, there's still more of a pride there, is what I'm saying, which is
Yeah, I
shows
guess
that
so.
there's more of an identity. Like, I'm from Michigan, and maybe I'm sure there's someone out there selling these, but I've never seen a hat with like the Michigan flag on it.
Mm.
And there's a brand of redneck that exists in Michigan too. It's different than Florida, but
Hmm.
it's not it's not non-existent.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but anyway, Rob, I guess we'll wrap things up here. Is there anything you want to plug real quickly before we hit the road?
Um, no, just tune in on Friday nights. Tune in on Friday nights to the Swamp Creatures.
Hell yeah! Thanks for coming on, Rob. And real quickly before I take off here, might as well get the music going back and on here. So this was originally supposed to be Culture and Decay.